certainly raises your heart rate a little bit, doesn't it? Violinist Mozart Perlman, Alfred Wallenstein, the London Symphony, the finale from Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto.
This is Classical WQED-FM 89.3 Pittsburgh and WQEJ 89.7 Johnstown on HD1 and WQEDFM.org.
While at work or during your commute home, join Anna Singer for Afternoon Classics. With classical favorites, the latest in arts news, weather, and BBC newscasts, tune in to 89.3 FM or listen live online at WQEDFM.org.
The Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra's 2.5-week European Cities Tour is over. Relive the sights and sounds of the tour on our website, WQEDFM.org.
I will find a way to everybody. I'll take that. Okay. The person that I talked to most of the world oh God,
the pom group to. I'll hold off on the pom. But the fire breather.
My wife.
You know, you're probably live on.
She's not watching it. I know she's not.
Somebody knows her is probably on. And it's right now they're making that. You know what he just said?
That's all right. I didn't get it.
No, it's still high. Once you remember, you don't have to learn. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. The hour is 7 p.m. Having arrived in the past, I call to order this agenda-setting meeting for the Woodland Hills School Board for the month of November 2019. Ms. Hawthorne, will you call the roll?
Mr. Gray. Ms. Sullivan. Mr. Hanchett.
Here.
Ms. Lawson. Here. Ms. Harris. Here. Dr. Hildebrand. Ms. Page. I'm sorry, Ms. Strasbaugh. Here. Mr. Belmont. Here. Ms. Glasser.
Present. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. next week we will accept the minutes for the agenda and legislative meetings for October. The board met in executive session on Tuesday, October 29th, and immediately preceding this meeting to discuss legal, personnel, and school security matters. Mr. Harris, do you have announcements?
Yes, the Office of Special Education will be holding a parent training on November 19th at the administration office in the boardroom from 5:30 to 6:30. The topic is what is parent guardian role as a member of the IEP team. Aunt Cheryl's Cafe and For a Caring Community Braddock present the 4th annual Community Thanksgiving Feast for Peace. And UPMC Health Plan proudly presents the Rankin Turkey Giveaway. And then there will be a What is Trauma presentation, how trauma affects everyday life, what is complex trauma and how it can change the way the brain functions, and how community violence and trauma requires community healing. This event will be held Thursday, November 14th, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. here in this building, in this room. Once again, it's What is Trauma and How Trauma Affects Everyday Life. Will be held Thursday, November 14th, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the Woodland Hills School District Administration Building, 531 Jones Avenue, between 6 and 7 p.m. That's all I have.
Okay. I'll note that the Feast for Peace is next Wednesday, the 20th, from 6 to 9 at Aunt Cheryl's just down the street. And the UPMC Rankin giveaway will be on the 22nd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Rankin Borough Building. Okay. Anyone else have announcements? Okay. We will have student speakers next week, I believe. And I believe we do have one presentation this evening, or several presentations this evening. Okay. The first is Tricia Shelton.
Good evening. Before I begin, I'd just like to say thank you for the invitation to speak with you this evening. It is always my honor and my privilege to work with people who are vested and committed in the tapping into the potential of our best and brightest students, which is all of them. So, to begin this evening, I'd like to talk about some universal truths that we know about children and behavior. One, children, like all adults, make mistakes. And the frequency and the type of those mistakes depends on their environment, it depends on their experiences, and it depends on their development, which we'll talk about this evening. We also know that every child is different. And what that means to us as school leaders and as educators is that no one intervention is going to work for every child. And we have to use the strengths and the needs of children to come up with what are going to be best practices for supporting them in the long term. So what works for one child one day doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for another child the next day, nor does it mean it's going to work for that same child 2 days from now. So we always have to be thinking about what does that individual child need. And lastly, learning is a social behavior. No child is born into this world knowing how to behave. They have to get experiences, and those experiences come from interaction with adults, interaction with teachers, interaction with their peers. And they have to get lots and lots of feedback on their behavior. So in thinking about development this evening, I'm going to take you through a scenario, and I'm going to have us start with early childhood, and we're going to take it all the way up through that high school level. So one of the things about my background is I have a lot of experiences doing a lot of things in education, but at my very core, I'm a teacher. So this is something from classroom experiences. So you have a child who is talking in class, and she's not paying attention to the teacher, and the teacher comes over and asks her, gives her a little warning, and she just decides for a little bit, and then she continues to talk with her classmates. And the teacher comes over, and maybe she engages in some of the behaviors that they teach us in teacher training. So, maybe she's doing some of those proximity control things, standing right next to the student to try to get her to follow along. Or maybe she's integrating using the child's name, saying, "Hey, Mr. Harris, you're following along with us, right? doing some of those things to get the child's attention. And maybe they work for a moment or two, but the child continues. So what are the things that we know that a lot of teachers will do? Well, they're going to tap into their hierarchy of consequences. So maybe the first is 5 minutes off of recess, and then maybe calling home to a parent, and so on and so forth. But how can we expect the typical 5 to 8-year-old in early childhood to respond based on their development? Now, one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is, as I said earlier, every child is different. So there's not going to be one universal response. But we do know that development follows a predictable sequence. So there's some things that we can expect would happen. So in early childhood, one of the things that we know is that their understanding of rules is very black and white, right and wrong. They don't have a lot of thinking and the maturity level to think about those gray spaces. And a lot of their understanding of rules has to do with their belief that they come from authority figures and that they're stable and consistent and that they should be applied universally. So there's no real understanding of intent or maybe situational things. And for those of you who might be thinking, I'm not sure that's correct. If you've ever spent any time with kindergartners or first graders, you know one of their greatest pastimes is tattling on one another. So they love to get those experiences where they're getting feedback on their understanding of the rules, and they want people to follow through with those consequences. Because those consequences in their mind are deterrents for more future bad behaviors. And so this is the backbone of a lot of classroom management systems in schools all across the nation. We have teachers setting up their rules and then having a series of consequences. And they do these things because we know that this is what children are thinking at this age. Now, psychosocial developments will have us ask the question, what are children identifying at this age with? And what they're thinking about is, am I good? Can I do school? And for a lot of children, that means following directions, getting good grades. And they are putting teachers on this high kind of level of esteem. So what is the typical 5 to 8-year-old going to do? Well, most likely she's going to comply. It might take a little getting with the teacher, but eventually she's going to get there. Now, I'm sure some of you are saying, well, not in all cases. So what's the story there? Well, for a lot of young people at this age, that 5 to 8-year-old, they're thinking about the question, am I safe? Now, certainly, I know that it is a high priority in the school district to keep children safe at the physical level. But we also have to think about safety at that emotional level. Do children feel warmth? Do they make connections? Do they have relationships that are being built in the classroom? And more so than that, do they feel academically safe? Do they feel like they're getting challenged in the right ways? Do they feel like they are getting what they need to be successful? If the answers to any of those questions are no, then we can expect to see frequent misbehavior at this age. Now let's travel through into middle school. What's going on there? So the average, let's say 11 to 13-year-old, their understanding of rules is very different. So they're not thinking in black and white. They know that sometimes there's some areas of gray. And they're not so much thinking about the rules that are being trickled down from authority figures, but instead they're starting to think about the understanding of rules as perceived by their peer groups. So they're looking at, what are my peers thinking? So remember, with that early childhood level, teachers were of high esteem. Well, now there's a little bit of a shift. And we're seeing that monitoring of peers and that sense of wanting to belong becomes tremendously important. And because they are able to understand that sometimes there's gray areas and intent makes a difference and circumstances make a difference, we have children that are now starting to want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They want to be understood. So what does that look like in the classroom? Well, for a lot of students, it can look a lot of different ways. It might look like them getting into your personal space. It might look like them raising their voice. It might look like them wanting to leave the space that they're in because they want someone to recognize their processing of that difference, that gray area. They want you to understand what they are thinking. And sometimes they're not always great at being able to do that in the most appropriate way. The question that's being asked at this level is, do I belong? Do I feel like every single day when I walk into that classroom that my culture is being honored? Do I feel like what I believe and understand is reflected in the teachers, in the students, and in the school culture overall? Do I feel like people are investing in me? And if the answers to any of those are no, or interpreted as no by the students, then we see misbehaviors at that level. So now let's go all the way up to high school, that kind of 15 to 19-year-old. What are they feeling? Well, their understanding of rules is not strictly based in authority. It's not based only in peers, but now they're starting to get their own insight because their primary social groups are much, much larger. And so they're thinking about, what do I believe? What do I understand to be important? And they're starting to exercise their own sense of independence at this level. So they're starting to think about, what am I going to do after high school? So it becomes really important that a lot of the experiences that they have seem relevant and meaningful for them. And so we have these children at this point who have this great understanding of all these things that they can do, and they want to make sure that they have opportunities to practice that. Now, one of the things that we know about brain research is that at this kind of later adolescence, all the way up to 25, they're building these complex decision skills. But right now, they're not great at it. Their understanding of risks, their understanding of rewards, their understanding of consequences is very different than what we understand as adults. And so their interpretation of behaviors and what they think is right in the situation can often have us asking, what were they thinking? But they're at that point where they're still trying to figure all of that out. And that's why it becomes so important that we give students really practical experiences in this decision-making and complex skills that they need to be able to be successful not only in the classroom, but beyond. The major question for high schoolers is looking at, am I competent? Am I able to do things that are going to be productive in the long term? And so that looks like, in the classroom, do I feel like what I'm learning is meaningful? Do I feel like it's engaging? Is it really trying to give me voice and choice? And if the answers to any of those things are no, that's when we see misbehaviors at the high school level. Now, the grand takeaway of this short little talk is to get you to think about, there are lots of things that can impact and can influence behavior with students. But what we do know for absolute sure is that a child is more than their context. A child is more than their circumstances. A child is more than their academic grades. And developmental lenses are one way to kind of interpret and predict some of the things that will happen in the classroom. But they're not the only thing. And we have to look at the entire child and think about what can be the best courses of action to put in those protective factors that will help students be successful in the short and in the long term. Thank you.
Any questions? Does anyone have questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Chris Hayes.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me this evening. My name is Chris Hayes, and I'm here representing United Way of Southwestern Pennsylvania. And I'm here tonight to talk with you about a pilot project that we are seeking your approval to proceed with this evening. We are hoping to launch a project that will help rebuild and revitalize the library space at Wilkins Elementary STEAM Academy. I'm going to talk to you this evening briefly about our objectives, about our partners, about the concept, and about why we chose Wilkins Elementary for this pilot initiative. Our objectives are to design and execute a partnership between United Way, PUMP, and the Woodland Hills School District as a pilot project. PUMP's mission, for those of you who are not familiar, is to make Pittsburgh the most dynamic and diverse place by engaging, educating, and mobilizing young people to create change in our community. Each year, they engage 30,000 individuals primarily under the age of 40, through their programming. We're looking to develop a campaign in collaboration with Woodland Hills with a cause PUMP supporters can rally around, namely our collective work to help children and youth succeed in school and in life, building on the excellent partnership that already exists between United Way and Woodland Hills, and we thank you for that. We want to provide the students at Wilkins Elementary with a safe, creative, and rejuvenating place to be inspired, to learn, and grow. And we want to provide age and culturally relevant resources to the expanded student body. I have a statement that I'd like to share that from PUMP this evening. Similar to United Way, PUMP believes that all children should have equitable opportunities for success, including a high-quality education and safe, inclusive spaces that foster dialogue and community. That's why we support this community-driven effort to renovate and revitalize the Wilkins School Library, which will benefit the students in so many ways. Because of our unique position as a network that serves nearly 30,000 young people in the greater Pittsburgh region, PUMP, in partnership with the Woodland Hills community and United Way, can raise the visibility of the project, uplift the voices of community members, and fundraise to support the effort. So the concept is called Pump Up the Library. PUMP, in partnership with United Way and Woodland Hills, specifically Wilkins Elementary, will lead efforts to renovate and revitalize the library. PUMP will launch a crowdfunding campaign to raise the funds to fund the renovations. The PUMP team is working on setting a fundraising goal based on receiving your feedback and approval this evening. All funds raised from the crowdfunding campaign will be directed toward funding the library rebuild to purchase supplies, books, decoration, and technology. Once the fundraising project is over, we don't want to stop there. We want to engage the supporters by inviting a core group of fundraisers to participate in helping to do the on-site renovation as a service project on Martin Luther King Day. And then we'd like to invite all of the supporters who have helped to fundraise for the library renovations to a celebration that we'll co-host to welcome the students into their beautiful new space. Why Wilkins Elementary? United Way Community Impact staff have been engaged in conversations with the Wilkins Library staff over the past year regarding the need for the library upgrade. United Way has a solid, established partnership with the school. For example, Wilkins was a great school to work with the Be There attendance initiative, and their staff and students have been very responsive and involved. Last year, we had a chant competition where the kids had to make up a chant about attendance, and they did so great, they won a pizza party. Wilkins engaged 462 children with the attendance challenge. They started off with a 33 chronic absenteeism rate and ended at 29%. This represents a 12.5 decrease in chronic absenteeism. Additionally, there were 16 chronically absent students engaged in the Buddy Project, and by the end of the year, 5 of them were no longer chronically absent, and 2 of those who were still absent had improved their attendance rate by 10% or more. Having this established relationship can make or break a pilot project. Based on the availability and the existing collaboration with the staff and their willingness and excitement, if we want a successful pilot, we're looking to move forward with a school that we know will be cooperative, helpful, and engaged. Given the need expressed by the library staff, in conjunction with the strong relationship already established with the school, Wilkins is a natural fit for the pilot project. And we're seeking your approval to move forward with this project this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Would this be on the December agenda, or is it on this month's agenda and I'm missing it?
I have not seen a tab for this at this point.
It's just a presentation this evening.
Right.
To see if we could move ahead with it, because it really is a fundraiser.
Okay.
The board would normally approve a fundraiser.
Right. We wouldn't approve it until we have the funds to approve.
Right.
Correct.
So
Okay.
it's more of a presentation to say thumbs up, seems like a good idea. Go out and start the crowdsourcing, and wanted to get her in front of everyone, Ms. Hayes, to discuss the program and see what's going on.
Is that a long enough timeline for you if you're looking to have everything complete by Martin Luther King Day? Is that enough time?
That's a good question. It is. We are working right now to develop the campaign with the hopes that we get approval to move forward with the campaign. And Pump is hosting its annual holiday party on November 20th. They would like to make an announcement about the crowdsourcing campaign at the holiday party. They get several hundred attendees there and would like to make an official announcement via email and their social media networks the following day on November 21st.
Okay. So then, based on the calendar that we've been following the last couple of years, we would see this on the agenda for approval of the funds in January, before Martin Luther King Day on the 21st, on the 15th. Is that okay with you in terms of if we aren't able to approve it until the 15th of January, in terms of receiving the funds and accepting the work? Is that okay with you all? I don't want to put anything in jeopardy.
Sure. So I think what we're seeking approval on, what we're hoping to do is once we launch this campaign publicly, we want to engage as many people as possible. So we're looking today for the approval to do that, to work on the fundraiser, to collect funds specifically for this project, and then have the volunteers come in on Martin Luther King Day to actually do the renovations.
Okay. It seems to me in terms of a formal process, it might behoove us to do something more formal and take an actual vote to approve the concept, rather than...
I think we need the ball rolling on this.
Right, and I don't want to get into a situation where we come to January and have no formal fallback on something, so...
Do a resolution now.
I think if we want to get to... Normally our voting meeting is next week. We could vote this evening. I don't know if we were to do it next week and have a tab on the agenda, would that be too late for you all? We're going by the date of the party, I'm sorry.
Yeah, November 20th.
The same day.
It's the same night as the meeting. Okay,
Yeah.
So then we probably ought to do it tonight. Okay, so that would be under probably new business then. If someone wants to raise it under new business, we could consider it at that stage, if that makes sense to the group. Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Hayes?
What's your money goal? How big are you going to go?
So that's also a great question. So we have provided Pump with 5 options. Excuse me, $5,000, $10,000, and $15,000. So minimum of $5,000. They are very confident that they can raise that amount of money. We have provided them with what significant difference they will make in the lives of the students and in the library space with those larger fundraising goals. So once we have the approval to move forward, then they will set their goal and we will communicate that back to you. The other piece I want to mention is that all of the communication materials that are going to be created in conjunction with the campaign, we will seek approval from whatever stakeholders and leadership we need to within the district.
Go for 15?
Go for 15, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I like it.
Go big or go home, right?
Indeed. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Hey, Jane, since Dr. Schultz is still here, can she come back up? I have a question.
Oh, sure, certainly. Would you come back to the podium, Dr. Shelton? Thank you.
Dr. Shelton, you give us a lot of information. Hi. You give us a lot of information about the student behaviors and stuff. Do you individually work with students or groups of students about behavioral issues within districts or anything like that?
So indirectly, yes. We work with a lot of teachers. I'm actually working in collaboration with the University of Pittsburgh, and we do work in the neuroscience department, and we are in the process of developing a curriculum that looks at some of those complex decision-making skills and puts it in the hands of teachers. We do a lot of training in that way. And then we also work with students kind of in a more kind of teacher-like space in doing some modeling of a lot of those lessons. And then I also work in higher education, so I work with pre-service teachers, so I get a chance to impact change in that way as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Okay. I believe our next two presentations will be for next week. So we will hold on those, which moves us to registered speakers. Tahira Duncan. Good evening. Welcome and invite public comment. I'm glad to have you here. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. And please give your name and address at the top of your remarks.
Thank you. My name is Tahira Duncan Walker, and I live at 309 Albert Street in Turtle Creek. I have a PhD in rhetoric and communication, which means that I study words. And I am the manager of learning design for the University of Pittsburgh. This is not a 2-minute issue, but I will claim the time I've been offered. Recently, my daughter, Bilkisu Abdullah, your student council president at the high school, encountered these slides. I will pass them around. Labeled Caucasian and Negroid, or Negro, in her anatomy course. I have discussed this issue with the teacher and the principal of her school. I was told that they could add a post-it note to cover the labeling, but that the curriculum could not just be changed. I then reached out to my rep, Dr. Hildebrand, and I proposed a curriculum solution in the form of free PIT kits from the biology department that are available to any district for free. I believe that is in progress, but we need restorative work for my daughter and any other students who encountered this language in the classroom. I am not asking for examination of the lesson objectives because, as research has proven, you can't backward design a lesson that is effective if you use language or circumstances that introduce a lack of emotional, physical, or intellectual safety. Moreover, no lesson objective justifies the use of racist terminology without providing context and history beforehand. Use of the term Negroid is a vestige of the eugenics movement. As many of you may know, this was a movement set on proving the superiority of people these pseudoscientists classified as white. We now know there is no scientific basis for such classification and certainly no difference in achievement or attainment prospects based on that made-up classification. However, where the language persists, so does racism. I am not talking about racism as a personality trait. I am talking about racism as a set of systems, codes, words, and policies. In this case, it is a racist policy to have this term in the curriculum, and it should be removed immediately. Not next week, not when curriculum experts get around to it, not next school year, immediately. And that removal should also come with guided discussions by anti-racists for our community. I will provide you with some references and resources via email by the end of this week. Please consider immediate action. Think of the legacy of Dorothy Hoots, who fought so hard for this place that we now call Woodland Hills. For them, the students at Woodland Hills, the parents, and for our future of equity in STEM fields, I implore you to do your civic duty immediately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall I offer this down?
Please.
Please.
I just have the 2 copies.
Thank you.
Okay. And that will move us into the agenda.
Was this in a textbook? Or what's this?
We can talk about it following the meeting.
Okay, all right.
I think that's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, Board Matters 2.1. We seek approval of the Eastern Area Schools Joint Committee 2019-2020 mail ballot resolution number 2019-1 and budget resolution number 2019-2. Any questions?
Seeing none. 2.2.
2.2. We seek approval of our annual contribution of $16,000 to Braddock Carnegie Library Association.
Any questions on that? I'll note that is an increase from what they requested last year. They've requested an increase. The amount that we've provided recently has been $11,000. There is, I believe, a letter attached there that explains that increase. Okay. Any questions? Okay.
Okay. All right, 2.3. Second reading of revised policy 705, facilities and workplace safety. Any questions? Okay, 2.4, second reading of revised policy 709, building and security. Building security. Any questions?
Questions?
Okay.
Seeing none.
2.5, second reading of new policy 805.2, school security personnel. Any questions?
Seeing none.
Okay. Assistant Superintendent 3.1, we seek approval to award a $5,000 stipend to Renee Engler, pre-K facilitator, which is allowable through the pre-K grant. Any questions? Okay, seeing none.
Seeing none.
Okay, curriculum 4.1. We seek approval to enter into a contract with Step by Step Learning LLC to provide Title IIA non-public school professional development services for East Catholic. Any questions? Okay. 4.2. We seek approval to engage Bulkween Brothers Music to auction off old musical instruments and equipment. Any questions?
What, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Same as we do with our textbooks, we have to declare them surplus, and we're going to use this company organization to auction off the equipment. There's an attachment attached to it with all the instruments for disposal.
Are they broken or they're just...
They're not broken. They're very, very old, and well, some of them are dysfunctional, but the majority of them are just so old they don't use them anymore.
Okay.
Will the funds go back into music?
Yes.
Dedicated to
yes.
new
What
instruments?
we'll do is there's two ways we can go here. We can get a 25 if we would like a cash payment back. We would receive 75% of the payment. They would keep 25% as a commission. If we go with an in-store credit, they reduce the commission to 20%. So we buy a lot of product from Walk Wine's music, sheet music, and repairs. So we'll go with the 20% on any future. It'll be a credit. Less of a credit. So we'll have a credit there, and Mr. Crone has set this up. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Special Education 5.1, approval to ratify tuition agreement with New Story from October 21, 2019 to June 3rd, 2020. Total cost is $45,936. Any questions?
Seeing none.
Okay. 5.2, approval for a letter of agreement with the day school at the Children's Institute for the 2019-2020 school year. Total annual cost is $65,100. Any questions?
Seeing none.
Okay, pupil personnel, 6.1. We seek approval to accept a service agreement between University of Pittsburgh and the Woodland Hills School District to conduct a sleep study with 9th grade students. Any questions?
Ms. Golden, can you go to the podium and explain again what we're doing with this, please?
So the school social worker is going to identify the students that will participate in the study. The study will include the social worker providing interventions by way of like individual sessions with students as well as group sessions with students to talk about their sleep habits, lack of sleep, how this impacts truancy, their coursework, so on and so forth. The participants will be identified, as I stated, by the school social worker. The parents will also be informed of the study, as well as provide consent for their child to participate. And like I discussed, we are looking at this as another form of an intervention for our students who are struggling with school attendance. So
prior to, in addition to our standard first and second offense letters and student improvement plans, we're also looking at some of those students to provide this intervention before we take the next step at referring them to the magistrate. Okay.
Is there any cost to the district?
No, there is no cost to the district. However, the district will be paid a flat fee over the course of the service period, not to exceed $1,655. $1,200 of it will cover the time and effort required by the school administrators and support personnel. An additional $455 is provided to cover the time and effort required by school-based personnel to deliver the intervention program.
Oh, the number went up.
Yeah.
And then we'll also be mindful, because I think I brought up in committee just about instructional time, so this is not really going to impact our students in that sense.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have one question.
Okay.
Which department or which school within the University of Pittsburgh is conducting the study?
Department of Psychiatry, Department of Pediatrics, School of Social Work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Personnel.
Personnel, 7.1. Section B, authorization for retirement/resignation. Section C, authorization to hire professional staff. Section D, authorization to hire non-professional staff. Section F, authorization for EDR/mentor actions. Section G, authorization for miscellaneous. Any questions?
Seeing none. 7.2.
7.2, ratify the hire of Albert Eddie Wilson as Director of Curriculum, Federal, State, and Foundation Programs, effective November 4th, 2019, at a salary of $95,000.
This is one that we would like to vote on this evening. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Strasbach, second by Ms. Seligson. Any questions, discussion, need for executive session to talk about Mr. Wilson?
Can we give compliments yet?
I would have read it much different. I forgot we were voting on this tonight.
That's right.
I would have done like football.
That's right. Let's take the vote first, and then we'll talk nice about him. Anything else? Okay. Ms. Hawthorne will take the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Wilson, if you would come up so we can welcome you properly.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think it's safe to say we're all very excited to have you with us. And personally, I can say welcome. I'm very glad not only to have you as a neighbor and a friend, but also as part of the team here. And we're looking forward to a lot of good stuff. So thank you for doing that. Who else wants to say nice things?
Well, now he can
I'm so excited. I'm so very excited. You were very impressive. Could you tell the people at home just like a quick little bit about yourself and what's your passion, and take it away?
For sure, absolutely. So just to start, as Ms. Glasser mentioned, I live in the district. I have children that go to school in the district, and I am proud to be a Wolverine and proud to be on this team. I started in a classroom in North Carolina where I met my amazing wife through Teach for America, and then moved, and we can talk about my resume at another time. My life's passion is around racial equity, and I believe that educational equity and equity in our schools is the way to achieve that goal, and so that is why I am passionate to be in Woodland Hills School District.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. We're going to put you to work next week with a presentation, I understand. So
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ready for that. So, okay. All right. And that moves us into technology.
Okay, technology 8.1. We seek approval to remove the door access system from Rankin School and have it installed at the administration building at a cost of $4,650 using capital reserve funds. Any questions?
What do we have to pay for that?
I asked about that. It's sure.
Steve?
No.
Oh.
Sure.
There's there's a little bit more work involved with it, where we have to get the wires behind the door frames and stuff of that nature. So it's better off that we have the company come out and do that.
It's not basic wiring.
It's not basic wiring. There's more cables and stuff involved. And Steve has more information on it.
Okay.
Yes, we need the company to actually remove the magnets and to remove their control panel from the building. And then they'll put the control panel in and do the programming so it's on our network. And they said it will be a little cheaper if we had our guys maybe pull some wires, down the hallway to that door and all the way to the other entrance. So this price may vary. It's not going to exceed that amount, but it may be less depending on how much manpower we can get from our own people.
Is Mr. Finney, are you comfortable
Yes.
with any of that? Okay.
Yes, we've done it before.
So we can change this to a not to exceed tab as opposed to a cost. So we can reword this so that it's not to exceed, so we can reduce it a little bit.
Put that in there, sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'll take care of it.
What other questions do we have?
We can afford it. I mean, that's kind of a big price to move a pad around.
Mr. Vigliotti?
Yes, it's budgeted.
Okay.
Steve has funds for it.
Okay. So this is coming out of the technology budget?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, 8.2.
8.2, we seek approval to purchase surveillance camera management software for our camera servers. At Dixon School, cost is $14,975. Funding will come from Dixon Capital Project 39. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Anytime we're doing these safety concerns or anything like that, are we talking to Mr. Petrogala about camera installation, location of where it should go, blind spots, additional cameras that may be needed? Are you guys working together?
Yes, we're
do those
talking
things?
about that and moving some, and also we applied for some more grant monies, and I believe cameras were part of that grant. We won't know probably until May.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
We probably won't know until May.
Okay.
But it's in the works for that.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Seeing none, 8.3.
8.3, we seek approval for 12 employees to attend the 2020 Pennsylvania Educational Technology Expo and Conference, Pete and C, February 24th through the 26th, 2020, at the David Lawrence Convention Center. The cost is not to exceed $4,200 from General Fund 10.
Questions? This is the first year in a couple of years we've sent groups to Pete and C. Is that correct?
Yes.
In a couple of years?
And it's very reasonable this year because it's here in Pittsburgh
Nearby.
instead of Hershey.
That's good. And no, I'm glad that we'll be sending folks down there. That's good. So, anyone else have questions? Okay. That's good. Thank you, sir. It moves us to Section 10, Food Service and Transportation.
Okay. 10.1, we seek approval of the Transportation Ride Sharing Initiative MOU facilitated by Allies for Children and participating districts. Any questions?
Can you tell us about that, please?
Ms. Niccolo? If you could update us on the status and progress of this, that would be great.
Okay, so because I didn't hear the question.
This is sorry, go ahead.
Just more information about the program and.
Okay, it's a continuation of the program that we voted on last year, where the Allies for Children, United Way, and things are trying to coordinate a share program amongst different districts, and we've been participating in this since the beginning. They have West Mifflin, Penn Hills, and Pittsburgh is not included in it right now. They declined to participate anymore. They pulled out, so they're not included in the mix, but they could be on again in the future. But this is just a continuation of that program. They did have First Solutions go through. It's part of First Student, but actually a transit planning company go through they had all the information from our different districts and mapped out just some proposed routes, and did find that they could possibly combine about 20 routes amongst all the different districts. And so then that was just with old data, just to kind of show what the possibilities were. And so by agreeing to this MOU, we would just move forward to try to institute something for next school year, to continue to share that data, to go through the motions of planning those routes with the information that we have, and try to combine some of these routes so that more future planning can be done too. To show other districts that this cooperation works, that there are savings, and then be able to get other people to come into it so that there's even more opportunity.
Is there an idea of cost savings to the district if we do something like this?
It would depend on whatever other districts that are participating and what students are involved. So every year it would be variable. There wouldn't just be a set amount. It would depend on where students are going to school, where they live, how many students from each district, whether they have full buses or not full buses. It's kind of hard to nail down an exact amount, but like I was saying, they had identified previously that there were like 20 routes that could be combined, and so that each district would realize some sort of savings that was on one of those combined routes.
Okay. And then how far? This is just, we're still in the beginning phase of this. This is just the concept, and then this will get us the next step.
Yes, and this is, like I say, to be able to show people that we're able to do these shares. Excuse me, and then if we can get some more on board, then we can plan better. Some like right now, the districts that are in there are kind of north-south route, not east and west. So some of the combinations aren't going to be as good as they could be, but it's a start. We need to have we need to have somewhere to begin to show people the possibilities there. Sorry. Please. Thank you. Oops. So that's why we want to move forward with this, because we, from the initial review, we did see that there could be savings and combinations of routes that did work. We know that they were done in a good fashion and would just... I'm so sorry. It would just be beneficial for everybody involved. And with the driver shortage that everybody keeps hearing about and doesn't like to hear about, that would help alleviate some of that situation. Instead of having 2 or 3 buses from the same district going to that school, they could be combined into one.
Other questions? I have questions. Sure. So 2 questions. First, I was under the impression that we were already doing activities within this agreement.
We are. This is just because they're going to the next step and they're wanting to make sure that everybody is still on board, because it is a long process. I can remember talking to people when I first started here, preliminary versions of this, and it just, they want to keep everybody on board and talking about it, so that anytime that you're talking to anybody from another district, especially being board people, sometimes you're at these meetings, say, hey, we're participating in this project and we're going to realize some savings. Are you willing to be a part of it? Just to keep it at the forefront.
Okay. So thank you for confirming what I thought to be true. Mm-hmm. I love the ride sharing with the other districts. Do you have a sense of how our district has been impacted by PPS not being a participant this year?
As part of the ride share, we would, because they are such a big district and their reach and the numbers of students are huge, it is a huge impact. But we don't want to not do this just because they said that they don't want to participate anymore. and I'm not sure of all of their reasonings at this point. I mean, I know they've had some reorganization, new transportation director that came and left. They have a lot of their reasonings that they just need to get in order, and perhaps they just also want to see how far everybody else is going to get.
And they're the big player in the game,
Right.
so they have a bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
But, being able to do the shares and getting everybody talking and networking just also helps. I mean, we're getting a lot more cooperation, even with some of our other displaced student transport and things. Getting everybody in the same rooms and talking together helps that happen.
And one more question. How do I want to phrase this? Do our students who experience homelessness or who are otherwise covered by the McKinney-Vento Act, are they benefiting from this as well, or is that a different transportation situation?
The ultimate goal is that they will be, and because of these shared routes are all set up, that's going to help us to be able to segue into
But we're not
doing more share. No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. And that's part of the original, 8 years ago when I first started hearing about this, was to try to help resolve that transportation issue, because none of the districts were really talking to each other and knowing what buses are in what areas and going to what schools. And so this is just getting a platform put together that's best.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Just thank you for your work. Continuing with this. Thanks.
Seeing none, 10.2.
10.2, we seek ratification of the purchase of one Cleveland electric kettle for $12,645 and one combi oven for $22,744 to replace failed equipment at the intermediate school from Trimark CoStar's contract number 036-006, paid for from the Food Service Fund 50. Any questions?
Yeah, this is going to go in the current intermediate and then also be taken out, right?
Yeah, when we move out of that building, this equipment will be moved to the high school.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none, section 11, buildings and grounds.
11.1, we seek approval to advertise the asbestos abatement bids for the Woodland Hills High School Phase 2 project.
If we could, we'd like to vote for this tonight also. There's a timeline we have to meet, and we need to get it advertised over the next 3 weeks, and we want to be able to award this bid at the December 4th meeting so that the work can start over the Christmas break.
That being the case, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mr. Hitchett, second by Ms. Curry. Any questions or discussion?
It's a quick time.
Sorry, was it not you?
No.
Paige?
Yeah, I in my speech, sorry.
Apologies. I heard a voice.
Just earlier.
Second by Ms. Strasbach.
No one set it up.
I've been trying to nail them down to get this. And they've been trying to work on it to get it sooner, but this is what we ended up with.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Discussion? Okay.
This is just for the ceilings?
This is asbestos abatement at the high school, part of the Phase 2 project. They'll go in and remove the
Yeah, I understand. The majority of it was ceiling tiles.
ceiling,
and
floor tiles,
Yeah, it's floor
glue.
tiles.
It's going to be everything. They will abate everything in the classrooms.
Now, the abatement that will be done will not impact the students, right? We're not putting anybody at risk by putting asbestos into the air.
It'll all be contained. They'll build their containment rooms. They'll be wearing containment suits. They'll be having HEPA filters everywhere. And this will be done over this part will be done over the Christmas break. Try to get as much done as we can so we can
avoid
have this done and cleaned up and ready to go for when the actual construction starts. They can just go into these rooms and not have to worry about it. We don't have to wait for it. So then what will happen is when, excuse me, the second piece of this will occur when we complete the musical The very next day, they will move into the auditorium and start work in the auditorium to keep ahead of the contractors. So that area will then be abated so that when the construction begins, like I said, the contractors can move in and not have to worry about waiting for this done. It'll be done before they get there and they can do their work. It's also that the schedule can be followed and try to stay ahead of the, where the contractor is going to be. So we're going to do classrooms first, then we'll be in the auditorium. Then over the summer, they'll be throughout the building wherever they can get to. At the end of summer, they will go on hiatus until next summer, when they'll come back in 2021, and they'll complete the rest of the abatement, and then the rest of the construction can occur through the end of that year.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, take the vote.
Having trouble, Ms. Lawson? Okay, got it.
Motion carries unanimously. 11.2.
11.2, we seek approval to advertise the Woodland Hills High School Phase 2 renovation construction bid documents.
Questions? Okay. Seeing none, 1.3.
11.3, we seek approval for sideline tree service to provide service at multiple locations. Any questions?
11.4.
11.4, we seek approval of outside organizations to utilize district facilities. Any questions?
Questions? Okay. Seeing none.
11.5, we seek approval for Penn Power System to provide preventative maintenance to all of our generators at a cost of $4,175 from the general fund. Any questions?
11.6.
11.6, we seek approval to purchase the Dixon School classroom furniture from PEMCO through CoStar's contract number 035-015 and state contract PA number 44000 at a total cost of $645,128.29 from Capital Project 39. Any questions?
11.7.
11.7, we seek approval of proposed change order number 6 for Shipley Plumbing to raise the height of the boys' restroom fixtures at Dixon School at a cost of $1,478.95 from Fund 39 Capital Projects. Any questions?
Seeing none.
11.8, we seek approval of proposed change order number 33 for Nello Construction to raise the height of the boys' restroom fixtures at Dixon School at a cost of $1,730.23 from Fund 39 Capital Projects. Any questions?
11.9.
11.9, we seek approval of a zero-cost change order, CO-002, for Shipley Brothers Plumbing, Inc., to modify the contracted substantial completion date to December 9, 2019. Any questions?
11.10.
11.10, we seek approval of a zero-cost change order, CO-001, for Commercial Appliance Contracts, Inc., to modify the contracted substantial completion date to December 9, 2019. Any questions?
Okay. Seeing none. 11.11.
11.11, we seek approval of PCO number 224R1 for Pitt Electric totaling $6,462.45 for the purchase and installation of 5 exterior cameras from Capital Project Fund 39. Any questions?
We're just going?
Yeah, we're
Dixon.
going.
Where?
Dixon.
Oh, Dixon. Okay, all right. It just doesn't say.
Yeah, these are all, I'm sorry, I forgot to put that in there. These are all Dixon.
Okay, that's what I figured, but it just doesn't say. All right.
So what's the difference between that and the other cameras? I thought that was for Dixon too. The 14,000.
We came up 5 short.
The
They had
previous tab was for software and technology.
the previous tab up above.
Yeah.
That was for the software to operate these cameras.
Gotcha.
But we needed 5 more outside exterior cameras to complete the installation.
Any other questions?
Okay.
11.2?
11.12. We seek approval of PCO number 26 for Pitt Electric totaling $3,759.91 for the installation of 2 30-amp disconnects and a receptacle from Capital Project Fund 39. Any questions?
Seeing none, 11.13.
11.13, we seek approval of PCO number 27 for Pitt Electric for totaling $6,217.64 for elevator code requirements from Capital Project Fund 39. Any questions?
Seeing none, 11.14.
11.14, we seek approval of PCO number 28 for Pitt Electric totaling $5,814.78 for exterior fire bell circuit installation from Capital Project Fund 39. Any questions?
Seeing none, 11.15.
11.15, we seek approval of COR number 003 from Northeast Interior Systems, Inc., totaling $1,086 to supply and install a teacher wardrobe from Capital Project Fund 39. Any questions?
What is a teacher wardrobe?
I'm sorry?
Was the teacher wardrobe is the question?
What is that?
Closet.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, when they designed the consumer food and science, they realized they forgot to include a teacher's closet in the cabinetry.
Okay.
Any other questions? That moves us to school finance, section 14.
School Finance 14.1, we seek ratification of the bill list for invoices paid after the October 16, 2019 legislative meeting. Any questions?
Seeing none, 14.2.
14.2, we seek approval of the November 2019 bill list. Questions?
Seeing none, 14.3.
14.3, we seek the acceptance of the October 2019 fund financial reports and student activity reports for informational purposes only. Any questions?
14.4.
14.4, we seek approval of the investment reports for October 2019.
Questions? Okay. 14.5.
14.5, we seek approval of the budgetary transfers for November 2019. Any questions?
Seeing none, 14.6.
14.6, we seek approval to continue participation in the AIU Western Pennsylvania Electric Consortium.
Questions? Seeing none, 15. Superintendent.
15.1, we seek permission to approve the proposal for RNDT to provide mentoring/educational services to middle and high school students for a 7-month period at a cost of $20,000. Any questions?
Seeing none, 15.2.
I had
sorry.
a question, but
Apologies.
just a request. Could we have Mr. Butler come do a quick presentation? I know he was here multiple times, and I see his curriculum and program here is attached, but just to kind of give, since it's high school and middle school.
Yes, we can have him at the next meeting.
Yeah, just because I don't recall seeing anything coming home to the school buildings explaining the layout. I know he's been there, but just kind of get everybody on the same page would be
Okay,
good.
we can have him.
Thanks.
Okay, 15.2, we seek permission to ratify RNDT invoice for $4,000 for 50 books and speaking/training services for teachers at the middle and high school.
Any questions? Okay. Seeing none. Is there any old business? Okay. Any new business?
I'll make a motion for it to, ratify or approval or whatever for United Way, or should I just read
Yes.
this?
Read that. I wrote something up quick.
we seek approval of the United Way and Pump to proceed with the fundraising effort to renovate and revitalize the Wilkins Elementary Esteem Integrity. Boy.
There you go.
So polished.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, move by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strassbach. I'm sorry, by Ms. Seligson. Whoa.
Yes.
Yeah, you know.
Long names.
One of
Lots
those people
vowels.
said something. Is there any conversation or discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll take the vote. This will be a voice vote.
15. Let's go for 15.
Yeah.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Seligson?
Yes.
Mr. Hanchett?
Yes.
Ms. Lawson?
Yes.
Ms. Curry?
Yes.
Dr. Hildebrand? No, sorry. Ms. Strassbach?
Abstain.
Mr. Belmont?
Yes.
Ms. Glasser?
Yes. Motion carries 7 to none with one abstention. Is there any other new business? Mr. Hanchett, you wanted to discuss the speaker's comments previously? Do you have...
Oh, I was just curious, like, so she gave us, what, is this in the textbook that we have, or?
There's slides
on the slides.
Slides that go under a microscope.
Right.
Okay.
I think what we'll do is follow up with Dr. Walker and ask Mr. Wilson to address that as well.
Yeah.
Second page. Yeah.
Was there a second page to that?
They were the same.
I think
They were two of the same. I gave one to Eddie, Mr. Wilson,
Okay.
and I believe
Yeah.
after session he's gonna have a conversation
Yeah,
with
so-
Mrs. Duncan about it,
Ms. Duncan right after the meeting.
Okay. Very good.
and then
I'll be able to report back.
And we'll follow up.
About what we're doing.
Very good. Very good. So, thank you for that. Any other new business? Okay. Seeing none. That moves us to reports. We had committee meetings last month, and we have brief review of the agenda attached here. Do we want to go through those quickly?
Sure, because we didn't do that.
We have not done that for a while. So, people personnel is the first listed.
Yeah, that was the easy one. Ms. Golden just explained what the sleep study was and what she said.
So, exactly.
Thanks for that.
Okay.
And then quickly, I give an update for Forbes. We've been doing really well. We're possibly going to purchase a house that's attached to the property. We have to negotiate with that owner there. Had a great open house. I think our enrollment's up to like 700, with a possibility we're looking for maybe within the next year or two adding a program for veterinarian assistance. So that's really exciting.
what are you gonna do with the house?
Well, they're going to use it for wood shop or building or something. There's a plan for it if he agrees. So we'll see.
Okay.
You're gonna remodel it. Nice.
Okay. Since Dr. Hildebrand is not here, I will review the curriculum committee meeting. We discussed the climate curriculum and climate committee that it will be formed as a result of the resolution we passed in July. Katie Modick was here from Communitopia to discuss that. Mr. Beaumont has taken the lead doing that. We also had a good discussion around the Eureka math curriculum that is in place at the intermediate school for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, and alignment with PA Core related to that. That will continue this month and likely for several months to come. We also discussed eco-friendly environment in the schools. Technology Committee, we discussed the tabs that were approved this evening, and that was covered earlier. I will also update on the Sunrise School. We do have a tab for the Eastern Area Jointure in 2.1 this month. That is related to changing the way that balloting is done for Sunrise and the Eastern Area schools. There's also going to be a tour for superintendents, business managers, special education directors at Sunrise in early December, and I believe there are several of our administrators RSVP'd to visit that building as well. Mr. Harrison.
Pam and I are going.
Very good. That's good. There are roof issues at the Sunrise building that are being evaluated, and
there are.
Yes, it's always roofs, and so there's been some discussion about that. That's been a big topic of conversation there. So, okay. Mr. Graves, Finance.
We basically just talked about the bond financing for the high school construction project.
Okay. Mr. Hanson, do you want to discuss athletics, or do you have? Okay. Do you want to, Mr. Graves? You want
Sure.
to take that one as well?
Boys soccer and volleyball both were in the playoffs. Soccer lost 5-1 to Fox Chapel. Girls volleyball, I believe they lost that night.
They did lose that game.
They did lose that night.
Valiant effort, however.
The athletic department would need to purchase a custom wrestling mat for the wrestling tournaments or things for the gym, the new gym, remodeled gym. The athletic department and guidance department attended the Tri-State NCAA eligibility seminar. Field turf will be at the high school November 1st to do an assessment. And we have our girls are going to be in a December 30th basketball tournament at the 2020 Governor's Challenge, and the brackets are released, and you should be able to see that online.
Okay. And that's all we have for committee reports. Reminder that our committees this week will be November 25th and 26th. That is Monday and Tuesday. Because of the Thanksgiving holiday, we moved those back a day. So please do plan to join us at 5 o'clock in this room on Monday the 25th and Tuesday the 26th. Which committees meet which day are listed on the website. So please do that. Okay, any further reports? Okay. That moves us to public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mr. Hanson, second by Ms. Seligson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all. See you next week.
Thank you.
I don't know.